Thank you for joining us for this episode. Today, we're joined again by the brilliant, talented, extremely handsome Dr. Jason Compton. And we're going to be talking about advertising and marketing on the OI Show. Thank you for joining us for this episode. As mentioned, we're joined by Dr. Jason Compton. And Jason, you have done an incredible job helping bring awareness around marketing, and you've done an incredible job in your practice. It seemed like a wink ago you didn't have any practices, and now you've got 3 in the highly uncompetitive world of New York City. And there's just something that you have to do to set apart. You know, Mila and I talk about this all the time, is there really isn't a place where there is competition. It's just setting yourself apart and doing that. And I was hoping you could kind of share with us how you've done that over the years of being a little bit different and sticking out so that people want to come in and see your handsome face.
You know, it's interesting because, as you say that, you have to do things to differentiate yourself from other practices. And, you know, that could be whether you do myopia management, you could do vision therapy, ortho-K, whatever. But the truth of the matter is, if you're doing these things and you're not marketing well enough, your patients aren't going to know you're doing it. So it's not enough just to bring these specialties into the office. You got to take it to the next level and actually figure out how to market, how to get butts in the chair in order to learn about these things that you're bringing into the practice.
I'm sure that if I just do a good job, I'm sure people will talk about it and I'll be able to grow my practice that way, as long as I have an ad in the yellow pages.
Right? Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. I mean, like maybe that'll work in a rural environment. Like, as you alluded to, I'm in New York City. I opened 2 practices cold in New York City, and like they're literally, you could throw a stone and pass maybe 4 or 5 between optometrists and ophthalmologists in my area. So they all offer their own little twist on things. They're all doing things successfully, but you have to be able to market. And like, you know, it's funny, you said yellow pages, you know, a decade, maybe 2 decades ago, that was really all we had. But fortunately, I would say we have a lot of tools at our disposal. And unfortunately, I should say unfortunately, it's good for me, but a lot of doctors don't really utilize these tools that we have.
No, they don't. So talk about the tools that we have and how you're using certain ones to your advantage. Absolutely. In your setting.
I would say the easiest thing to talk about is Google. I mean, even if you think of yourself as a consumer, don't even think about as an eye doctor right now. As a consumer, like, how do we process or how do we get information? Everything is on our mobile devices, whether it's food, like through Seamless, whether it's like Uber, getting a car. That's how people consume or get resources. And if you're going to have a business, whether, I don't care if you're selling cupcakes or you're doing myopia management, you have to be where the potential in our market patients are. And Google allows us to do that, whether it's by positioning our website in certain ways or by doing advertising.
So, you know, I think that a lot of us don't necessarily understand this whole concept around advertising with Google. So first of all, let's start off with Google knows you exist. Right? Mm-hmm. Your practice is out there. They've already put something, like if you Google your practice, likely you'll have a Google page where it'll come up. And if you click on you, it'll have maybe a map to your mm-hmm. location. They might have gone through your website and might have your hours. At least they'll put your phone number up there and maybe your website, right? Mm-hmm. So what's the first step people should take when it comes to Google?
Okay, so before we take that first step, we have to understand like how Google works. Like, Google is a search engine.
And right, you're going to tell us in 2 minutes how the entirety of Google works.
Yeah, I know, right? But it's like Google makes its money by providing people what they're looking for. And we call it intent marketing, right? So when you go to Google, you don't go to Google because like you want to see what's on the Google today, like you do like Facebook or like Instagram. You go to Google because you're looking for something. You're looking for
Right.
a recipe to apple pie. You're looking for someone that has contact lenses, something very
Yeah.
specific. So what happens is Google serves up that information based on how how good or how the quality of the information you're providing. So that's what you said with your website. You need to have your website positioned in a way that Google believes that you are a valid source for this information. So that if I type in contact lens doctor in my area, Google has 30, 40 doctors to pick from. So Google has to decide, why should I put Dr. Compton ahead of Dr. B or Dr. C? And the way that Google decides that is how quality your website is, because that's really what they have to go off of. And there's so many things that you can do to your website to show Google that it's quality, whether it's the content that you put on, how often you put content on, what websites you link to, what websites are linking to you. There's all different types of things that Google analyzes, and they don't make it readily accessible. Like you kind of have to figure things out. It's like part of what they call their algorithm. But doing things to make yourself appealing to Google is what gets you in front of people that are looking for what it is that you can provide.
Okay, so that's like that's like being having a good website, right?
Yes.
So, that's easy to do, right? I can just go out and hire a high school kid to just put something up on the internet and that's going to be good enough. Or is it something where we should probably pay somebody to do this? And, is it just something we can, inexpensively pay somebody to do? Or
Well,
what do you
well,
suggest?
there are inexpensive ways to do it, and I don't necessarily think you have to pay somebody thousands of dollars to set yourself up. There are companies that will do templates. I think a good one is monstertemplates.com. I think it's called. I have no financial connection with them, but they will give you a template where you just kind of fill in the boxes, and it'll give you something that's mobile ready. Because when somebody pulls up your website on their phone, it's going to look different from then on a desktop or a tablet. And they have these types of templates that are created for that. And you could literally pay $80 for a template and really just kind of fill in the blanks and have it hosted on like a WordPress site or something like that. But that's a good way to start. And the reason why I say it's important to do it that way, because there's a lot of little things that Google looks at that you may not be readily familiar with. Just how you tag certain things, the speed that things take to load on your website. All these little things are little things that put you a little bit ahead of the competition when, again, someone's searching for anti-reflective coating in your neighborhood. Why should they put your website in front of your competitor? So all these little things that you can do to your website is what allows you to push you ahead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there are, services, and we have some specific to eye care that do
Absolutely.
this sort of thing. And, they're making sure they have a good content writer that can share that. But, maybe if you're starting off cold and you don't have a big budget, you can start with something and then move from there. But I do recommend, and I have learned this the hard way, that getting a good website is far more than just having something that looks good, right? It needs to look good, but it needs to operate well. It's kind of, as I described my website not too long ago, is it looks like a Ferrari, but it operates like a Fiat, right? And it looks good, but it doesn't do a whole lot for me on the back end. And we ran some analytics, and we're like, hey, we need to rebuild the engine of this thing, and that's kind of on those keywords and so forth that we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So Jay, now we've got a good website, and I do let's say I do vision therapy, or I do myopia management, and when when somebody searches for me in Brooklyn or in Manhattan, like I want to come up first. How do I make Google do that for me?
So there's two ways that you have ways to do that. You have paid and you have organic. Okay. Paid means you're going to pay Google a certain amount of money every time that someone clicks your ad. Organic means that you're going to do different things on your website to convince Google that they should show you at the top of the list. Now, organic is free, but it's very difficult. Okay. Paid is you pay to play, okay? And what Google will do, again, there are other people that are paying for those same what we call keywords or key terms that people will search that you would come up. So depending on the competition for that, you're going to pay a little bit more. So perfect example. I would never compete for contact lenses in my area because I'm going up against 1-800-Contacts. I'm going up against Walmart. And per click, they're paying something like $30-$40 every time someone clicks the ad. Now, that doesn't mean they bought anything. But if you're doing searches like orthokeratology, there's not that much competition with that. I mean, we rank pretty high for orthokeratology. We rank for, I don't know, there's a lot of different things that we do. But paid is going to guarantee you to get you at the top, but you got to pay to play there. And organic will get you there, but you have to work. And it's not easy.
Yeah. So, the average optometric office puts in about 1 to 2% of their revenue towards marketing. So let's say that I'm starting off and I'm like, hey, I'm going to put 3 or 4%. I have this piggy bank that I have right here, Jason. Here's my piggy bank, and it's been sitting here, and I have all this money, and I want to give it to Google. So how do I get is there a phone number for Google, or how do I get a hold of Google so that they can do that for me? I think that the nuts and the bolts of that is really tough. Do you Google it?
Well, absolutely. Let me tell you, Google wants your money. They will make it as easy as possible to take your money. But I would caution, or I wouldn't caution, but I would encourage my colleagues to do it in a right way. And you have to be able to calculate your ROI. You can't just spend money, and you have to be able to, and Google will help you do this. You have to be able to see if the money that you're putting out there is returning dividends. So for example, if you are a great, as you said, vision therapy practice, and you try to rank for vision therapy, somebody clicks that button. If you're taking them only to your website, it's possible they may find something about vision therapy and find a phone number, but that's not really a great use of funds. Like what we do is we have what we call landing pages. So when I have an ad and somebody clicks that ad, they're not going specifically to they are going to my website, but they're going to a specific page. On that specific page, I can track where people came from. There's a specific phone number. So when they call, I know that they came from Google. There's all sorts of things. And again, Google will help you do these things, but you have to do it in a way where you can analyze if the money, the ROI, the money that you're spending you're getting a return on it, because you will go through money very quickly. And if you're not getting it, it could be bad. I think right? we spend, I want to say, like I'm well over $500 a month in just Google ads alone. Mm-hmm. But I mean, think about the numbers. If you're selling Ortho-K, I mean, that's one Ortho-K sale, Yeah. So you have to be able to track it. Am I getting sales specifically from this platform? And they'll help you do it.
So I think that's a key component, is that before you spend money, you need to know a way to track whether it's working or not, right? We can count how many retinal photos we're taking, and then we buy a retinal camera and we know how to track the codes to see whether it's making us money. And we should do the same with our marketing, and Google does have a good way to do that. So first of all, I think that you need to go into Google and you need to claim your business, right? You need to show them that you are the owner of your business, and you can be like, hey, my name is so-and-so. This is my business. Here's the proof that it does that. Google helps you do that. Then you can clean up the stuff that's on Google. Like for a while, Google was pointing across the street with my business. And so people would be going across the street so we cleaned that up. We worked with them on that. And then we said, hey, it's time to start paying some money so we can increase our thermal pulsation or orthokeratology. These are high priced items that we want to bring people in. So you go to your website, you create a landing page. You can either work with somebody on that, but it is, specialty eye, and that's my practice.com / myopia management. And that page talks about whatever it is that we're doing. It talks about, schedule an appointment today. Here's the phone number for it. And that phone number is different. And I can run a report in my phone number, get these phone numbers from my voiceover internet provider, VoIP, and find out that phone number and put it specific to it. And I can run a report on a monthly basis of how many phone calls came in from that. And I can even run a report in my electronic record system of who those people were and find out if how many of them moved forward. So I now know that I can move forward with that. I do that for any of the sort of things. And then I go to Google AdWords, right? So tell us about Google AdWords and how we set this Google AdWord page up.
So Google AdWords, that's when it really starts getting technical. But it goes back to the conversation we had prior about people are searching for certain things. And when people plug in certain words into Google, we want to be the first one to show up, whether it's organic or now what we're talking about is paid. So Google AdWords will tell you, what do you want to show up for? If someone searches orthokeratology in a specific range or area, we'll show your ad. And if they click your ad, you have to pay us a certain amount of money.
And usually they tell you up front how much money it's going to be, right? They're going to say, okay, every time somebody clicks on this, you're getting charged $5.
Exactly. And it seems like a lot, but what you can do as far as zoning in on the potential target audience is amazing, because again, like I'm in New York City. I don't want somebody clicking on my ad that's in Florida. They may be interested in it, but the likelihood they're going to come see me is very unlikely. I have my Google Analytics set up just in a small radius of my practice. So I know anyone seeing my ad is going to legitimately come or have an opportunity to come see us.
I can put in their zip code. I can, put in like 5 zip codes around my practice if I'm more rural, or you can they allow you on a map to draw the area that you want your ad to be able to be promoted to. Yeah.
The way marketing is set up nowadays is just unbelievable. And I know we're not even talking about this, we can say this for another conversation, but like Facebook is the same thing. Not only do I drill down on location, with Facebook, I can drill down on people's income. I can age, their gender. Like there's so many things that you can drill down with marketing nowadays using these tools. It's just a matter of just getting your feet wet and learning. And I'm sure you can attest to this. I didn't learn this in optometry school, and I'm sure you didn't either. This is just stuff that you can read, you can learn about. These people
go to the OI Show podcast to learn about this.
There it is. But like there are resources there for you to learn these tools to be very successful. And unfortunately, it's really necessary.
It is. Brilliant. All right. So recommendations is get a website. Check. Most people have that. Make your website good. Not check. Most people don't have a good website. So get it in shape. Number 3, figure out how much money you want to spend and on what specific areas, and make sure that you've got a good page that you can then track to see how many people are being directed to it. Claim your Google and find Google AdWords and go and play around on that site. I'd encourage you to go and do a couple of YouTubes on Google AdWords, how to do it. I'd encourage you to go and play around on the site, put different keywords that you think are interesting. Maybe a keyword would be for vision therapy, convergence insufficiency. Maybe it would be eye teaming, eye focusing, eye pain, eye discomfort, right? Some of these words patients, and think about it from the patient's mind of what they're searching for, right? Not many people are searching for convergence insufficiency. So you can claim that in case they heard about it from their eye doctor, and now they're wondering, where do I go and how do I learn more about this? And boom, they land on your page. But maybe it's that they're having struggle to see in school, or blurry vision in school, or something like that. And you can type in all of those keywords that then you can claim and say, I'll pay this much money for X, Y, and Z. Jason, brilliant.
Love it. You're talking my language, buddy. You're talking my language.
Awesome. I love chatting with you about this sort of stuff. I want to be appreciative of your time and thank you so much for sharing this with us. If people wanted to find you, other than Googling you, how would they find more about Jason Compton?
Easiest way is my email. I'm definitely open to that. jcompton@comptoni.com. That's jcompton@comptoni.com.
Brilliant. Thanks, buddy. And thank you for joining us for this episode of the OI Show. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time on the Optometric Insights Show.